Back live, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris along with malpractice attorney Clint Kelly taking your calls. You see the number on the screen as well as on Facebook at newschannel5.com. Clint, someone on Facebook just asking, I have to kind of agree with this, as I think, short of some certain types of, medical surgeries, the dental work, the surgeries, not even that, the cleanings that can just shoot out mist. You know what I'm talking about? There's concern there about going to a dentist and the precautions being taken and whether or not you can determine you potentially have a case from a dental office. Have you thought about some of those cases?
Absolutely. And there is no question that is a high risk situation, without a doubt. And I've heard that from multiple medical experts. My infectious disease specialist told me that. Dentists are going to be very careful, I suspect, to do everything they can. I think the problem is, here's the deal. When the historians write the book on this episode, first of all, I submit to you that we're going to get a failing grade. Okay? That's what I believe in the future when we look back on this. At least up to this point, we'll have gotten a failing grade. And one of the reasons why, there has been an absence of testing. And I could spend an hour with you on TV today explaining all the problems with testing and why testing matters, but think of how important testing is simply in the dentist office. If you could come to the dentist office and have a test at admission and pass the test where you know you're not infected, then the dentist doesn't have to worry, and nor does anyone else in the dentist's office. And if he could do that to every patient, he could have work done on the healthy ones, the sick ones stay home until they get better, and then they can have work done. And that could happen across the board. That's not just the dentist's office. That's in the surgical suites. That's in the medical offices. That's in law offices. The absence of testing in this country is what's keeping us held up and shackled to our homes, shackled to this social distancing regimen. It's preventing the return to normalcy, whatever normalcy is going to look like. And that, I submit to you, Nick, is going to be one of the major reasons when historians write the book on this episode why we failed on the front end. There's no excuse for the absence of testing. And that's what's exposing people, in my opinion, continuously exposing people to the risk of getting reinfected because we don't know.
Yeah, and just to clarify, you're saying not enough testing because we hear every day from the governor and the metro mayor, how many cases of testing, and we know we've got these testing stations set up. Now, I hear what you're saying, but your point is that there's just not enough testing being done, and we know there's not a test out there that you can do and get a result back in 5 minutes. They're getting better, but so you're just saying there just hasn't been enough, and it's your belief that certainly there could be if the will was there to do so.
I mean real testing, Nick. Yeah, you're right. I'm not talking about going down to some station somewhere and having somebody stick a Q-tip down your nose. I'm talking about having a test that can be done on the spot where you can get a response within minutes, maybe seconds when it's done there, and then be able to show, like on your cell phone, hey, I'm clean, and then get free passage through wherever or do whatever you want to do. You're telling me in the richest, most powerful country the world has ever known, we can't do that? I'm telling you, and there will be a test for that, by the way. But when it happens and we look back on all this, the lost opportunities, that's going to be one of the main reasons, I think, why we lost trillions of dollars and why lots of people died. We did not have adequate testing.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines and we'll go to Linda. Linda, good morning. Go ahead, Linda. Do you have a question?
I have a kind of a statement and question and all. First of all, I was in a nursing home rehab facility in the month of January and February, and they have not reported that they've had any cases, and I don't know. But first of all, is the possibility that I could be tested because their lack of service during the nighttime was not really appropriate. And secondly, I just got back about 45 minutes ago from one of our health departments here in Nashville to get me one of these masks that the governor is giving out. And the man that was there had his mask pulled down below his mustache, and then the lady that handed me my mask did not have a mask on, and this was at the health department.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We see that time. Clint, I know. I mean, it happens. People that are there should be an example, and he's handing out masks, and he's got it down below his nose. And I understand, maybe you're having trouble breathing, but you've got to find a way to make that work right. It's not funny. I'm sorry,
what
but
is Linda thinking when she sees this? I mean, I don't. Yeah. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I don't know. As far as her, if she wants, ma'am, and you feel that you may have some issues, I mean, you can arrange, if you think you may have been exposed, to go ahead and be tested. I mean, go to one of these locations and do that. Let's go to I think we've got next on the horn is it Robert? Go ahead, Robert.
Oh, yeah. This is really, it's turned into a tragedy of errors. It's not really funny, and, like going to the science fiction, people too far of that, but it's really getting to that. They need particle detectors because this stuff is infectious.
They're saying that some of the doctors just how infectious. It's just incredibly infectious. That's the problem. It's just so easily spreads, and and you can't see it. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's incredibly infectious. You can't see it. Clint, do you have any experience in dealing with whether or not an adequate testing are those non-touching temperature guns? You know what I'm talking about, where they use infrared light to hit the forehead. And I see some of the claims, and that's some of what the governor is providing businesses along with masks, and I think that's fine. But I don't think they're 100% accurate. I think they're off by a few degrees for sure. And that's just my take, and when I've tried it myself.
No, your take is, you are correct, Nick, that they can be inaccurate, and they certainly can't be the sole basis of taking temperature. That's one of the reasons that we contend at Gallatin there was negligence. The staff, Nick, were bringing their own thermometers to the facility because they didn't trust that. I call it the temperature gun.
Yeah.
They didn't trust it. It has to be properly calibrated, and it has to be tested from time to time to make sure it's giving accurate results. And I'll give you an example. If you've been sitting in front of an air conditioner, and the air conditioner is blowing cold air on your forehead, and then you walk straight into the facility, that gun is not going to give an accurate temperature.
Right.
So, yeah, hey, that's one small tool in a vast array of tools to help you, but it's no substitute for testing, Nick.
As we wrap things up, just want to remind folks, and we see a lot of lawyers are very active right now. Your business, obviously, you're actively working on these cases you're talking about with the nursing home facilities. Are you hearing from other facility patients as well, or is it right now just the focus on Gallatin for you?
Sure. No, there are a number of other facilities that we represent clients in that we are investigating. I've got a whole bunch of, Nick, I enjoy this work because I like to hold people accountable. I like to get people answers, because to tell you what, a lot of these people who are hurt or have lost loved ones, more than anything else, they say the same thing. It's not about the money, it's about answers. I want to know why this happened. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing this, is trying to figure out how this happened and why it couldn't be prevented. That's why I do. It's the only thing I'm concerned about. I'm just afraid that one day the insurance companies are going to get to the legislature and change the laws, take all the lawsuits away from these people, and then never get their questions answered. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Well, and you can contact your lawmaker, tell them how you feel about that. But I mean, the big picture on this, and you've told me more than once, you like to think people are good in general in most walks of life. But really the only way sometimes to get some of these offenders' attention is to hit them in the pocketbook. Is that it? I mean, if all of a sudden they realize they're insulated and there's not an issue here where they can be held accountable, your belief is they're not going to change a darn thing.
Well, and just as important, Nick, is getting them to raise their hand, take the oath, and question them under oath. That's the only way you get answers. That's the only way you can find out why something happened and why it wasn't prevented. And if you can't get into court, then you can't force somebody to raise their hand, take an oath, and answer questions. I don't think that's fair. I think that's as un-American as it gets.
Yeah, and the point there, too, is when you find those things out, you can find a way to prevent it from ever happening again and save lives. Clint, listen, thank you so much for joining us. Great conversation this morning. I think you're going to be hearing from some folks. We'll see you again next month. We'll take a break, too, and when we come back, I'll make sure to let people know how to contact you. You take care of yourself, and my best to your father as well, all right?
Thank you, Nick.
Take care, Clint. Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney, knows his stuff. Listen, we'll take a break. I'll come back with contact information from him, and as well as a programming note about what we got going on tomorrow. Stay with us.